Children of the Fog. Something wicked this way comes, and it's me, OldManBronze, coming to you with another Fireside Bronze. And I'd like to take a moment to talk to you good people about the giant, sweaty, bloodpoint-laden filled elephant in the room that are perks. So my friends, I sat down the other day and I purchased a new killer, and his name was Pinhead. And I was all excited to level him up and play him, and and it started settling in on me. And this is not an unfamiliar feeling. As I'm leveling him up and I'm trying to open up the perks that I would like to try out on him, or I'd like to play on him, that I have opened all of my teachable perks on every single killer in the game, good, bad, or ugly. And as I'm going through, I'm realizing what a monumental task this is, like, to just get the perks that you're looking for on one killer. And this goes for survivors as well. This is not a poor me killer speech by any means, my friends. But what this is it's a realization that the game, and they have mentioned it, but it's something that I wanted to talk about. Like, it's not a gripe, but it's an eventuality. It's not, and it's not killer specific, and it's not survivor specific. The problem is that if you have played this game for a decent period of time, and many of us have, and you've gone through, and if you're a die-hard survivor main, you've used every survivor, you've picked up every single one of them, and you've opened up all of their teachable perks. The same thing as a killer main. You have leveled every killer, you have opened up every single one of their teachables, and now you find yourself with a problem, and a very big problem. It takes an astounding amount of blood points to open up all the perks that you would like to have available to a new killer or a new survivor that you're excited to play. But it doesn't feel good if you're not running your perks, right? Or if you've heard that there's a build that works really well on this killer and you'd like to open up those perks. Well, good luck with that, ladies and gentlemen. And let's talk about it. Like right now, there are 25 killers in the game. And so 3 teachable perks per killer, that equals 75 perks. Okay, there are also 12 base perks in the game, and that's where we get our delightful Noeds and sloppy butchers and things like that. Like, not all of them are the greatest hits of Dead by Daylight, but there are some standards that you will see come up, especially like when you're first leveling your killer, or first starting the game, for sure. So that's 87 87 perks, and each of them has 3 ranks. And if you want to get all of the perks in the game, which some people do, like, they get it all done, so when the next killer or next survivor gets released, then they only have to just level until they get those next 3 perks. But that's so much. It's like, so for a killer right now to open up, just open up, that just doesn't necessarily, well, open up and rank them up to rank 3. It's the very, very minimum. If you never get a perk eaten up that you wanted to get by the blood web, like the entity comes in and just grabs it, no, 361 blood webs minimum. And that's very, very, very RNG dependent. 361 blood webs. Like, as a killer, playing with, I play pretty decently, and I mean, once in a while I get skunked like anybody, and I have my frustrations from time to time, but I streamed this evening, and I streamed for 3.5 hours, and I played about 13 games. I did well in about 10 of them, and 3 of them, I didn't quite do as well. But for the evening, starting from 300 blood points that I had in the bank, I ended up with 550,000. And that was with playing tons of bonus add-ons, having good quick queues, and doing fairly well in the majority of my matches. And also, Killer makes more points than the average survivor does, you know, like across the board, because it's 4 versus 1. You know, it's divided up sort of appropriately, but I also, like, sometimes when I feel bad when I play Survivor, because I'm like, I made 12,000 points. I survived, but, you know, I suck. And I could play a bad game as Killer, or get played by a really good team, and I can still make, 25,000 points. You know, it's still pretty easy to get those points in. But if I were to take Pinhead and go through and finish him off and P3 him, this is why I do not P3 any characters, because they've done the math, and people have sunk millions and millions and millions of blood points into their characters and documented the progress. And on average, you may or may not get 1 extra green or 1 extra ultra rare add-on in your blood web, and that also, due to the nature of the blood webs, does not guarantee that you will get it, because the entity is chewing up stuff while you are knocking out, the parts of the web as well. So it becomes, it's strictly for the bloody skin, and Dead by Daylight has come a long, long way, and the cosmetics that they put in this game, which are basically their business model, are great. There's so many of them that are worth the money that you're paying them for, because you're buying a new chapter for $8. I just bought Pinhead for $4. They need to make their money somewhere, and I think that's a fine way to do it. And do I want to pay $15 for a skin? No, I don't. Have I done it on anybody yet? I don't think so. I don't think I've gotten any of the $15 skins. That's another, sidetrack. But the idea of leveling any new characters to P3 just absolutely turns me off, because the reward is very minimal for the amount of time you put into it. I level all of my characters now to 50, and then I open up the perks that I want on them, and then that's about it. If I've got to go back and put in maintenance blood points for add-ons, for streaming purposes and playing purposes, then that's what I do. Like, no more. And for someone new to come into this game and see that mountain that they would have to climb, like, I've got almost 2,500 hours in this game. My dear brother Mark Games, who's amazing, you should check him out, has just hit 3,000 the other day. And there are people that I have watched that have 7,000 hours, 9,000 hours. There are 13,000 hour, Killer and Survivor memes out there. Like, it's been posted. It doesn't mean it's real, but that's what you have to do to be able to get all the perks you want on every killer that you wanted, or every survivor that you wanted. It's astounding, and it's honestly it's a turn off on leveling new characters, and especially when they're, the killers are kind of questionable that they've been releasing. Like, it becomes very disheartening to spend the time to grind out all of those blood points, to open up all of those perks, and to do all of those things, right? Like, this is the devil. There is no one that doesn't play Dead by Daylight right now that does not hate this monstrosity right here. Like, it has broken our hearts so many times. Once in a while it feels like you won the lottery, but it's very few and far between. Like, when you're actually have all of your perks open and you are trying to level up a new killer or a new survivor, like, it's brutal. Like, at every turn, you'll start getting a couple perks here and there, and then you won't see the rank 3 forever, and then they'll start giving you every perk you never ever wanted. And you have to do this, like, if you want to get it done. That's the problem. So Dead by Daylight has come out and said that they are looking into the issue, and they realize that it is something that's a problem in the game, right? Just because it's they've never expected it to go this long. Like, no one at Behavior was like, yeah, you know what, we're gonna knock this one out of the park, probably, you know, somewhere between maybe 5 to 10 years, and then we'll like ease on back off it. No, like, no one thought it would ever go this far, and this is a problem that they have to face. Like, they've got to figure out a way for all the people who have sunk all this time into the game to want to come back and level these new characters and put all of these blood points in them. And it's becoming kind of a problem, because the stuff that they're releasing, the skins, the art, all of those things, fantastic, top notch. But the stuff that they're releasing is questionable, and it's not super fun all the time. And the changes with SBMM and people having, you know, their secret MMR ratings and things, and people are in a rough spot on Dead by Daylight, and that's why I want to do some commentaries and talk about these things. But now that it doesn't always feel great to play Dead by Daylight, and I don't mean win all the time. I mean just enjoy the wins and the losses and take your lumps, because that's kind of what the game is, you know. Sometimes you're the king of the world, and sometimes you're tunneled off hook, and it's not fun. But to sink in that amount of time and to put up with that type of frustration for a very minimal return to level up and buy new content is tough. It is super hard, ladies and gentlemen. Like, I can't even use, like, people are, I did some research on, you know, leveling like 1 to 50 and taking, like, you know, any character from you know, 0 level prestige to rank 3 prestige. Like, just to do that is like 7 million blood points. And probably more with RNG, and then if you want to try to finish your build after that, you're talking tens and 20s of millions of blood points and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of game time to earn them. And I don't know, like, I think it would be, I figured it out, it'd be somewhere about like 800 games if I wanted to, like, take Pinhead to P3 and open up all of the perks that I have available to have at his disposal. Number one, I wouldn't want to do it for that character. I have only done it for 2 characters in this game, and one is Sweet Granny. I am a filthy hag main, and I always will be. And I've done it for the Trapper, and they still need to catch up on Nemesis's perks, maybe the Trickster's perks, and then now Pinhead's new perks. And hindsight is 2020, but I look back and I wish that I could unselect some of those teachables, because you can go around them, you know, you don't have to open them. And I wonder if maybe that's a more elegant solution, because there is a large amount of the perks in this game for both sides that are positively worthless. Like, only for, like, there's stuff that isn't even good for memes or just like off meta builds or whatever, like, because you don't just have to run the meta, but for both sides there's a core, maybe 10, 12, 14 perks, probably tops, that people are consistently running, and that's like, you know, your standard 4 to 6 meta perks, and then 8 ones that have decent potential and are, you know, they're fun when they work together, and you can pull some good stuff off. But it's to keep leveling up a new killer or a new survivor, and to do that again to get your core, like, 10 to 14 perks that you like to run on your killers or survivors, so you have some flavor, so you can adjust to different things, you know, adjust to changes in the game or whatever. That's an insane amount of time and an insane amount of investment for each new killer that comes out. Like, if you stream this game professionally, you know, like, and you get paid, you know, you're a decent sized streamer or a decent sized content creator, and you're putting 6 to 8 hours a day in on this game, You know what? Most of those people have everything P3'd on both sides, because like, what else would you do? But for the average person that might get in, like this week I'll stream just over 10 hours, and that's probably about where I'll sit for a while. And that's probably all the Dead by Daylight, outside of creating some content that I will probably play each week. And even that is more than a lot of people are able to. Like, people have families, kids, things like that. Sometimes they might play 2 hours of Dead by Daylight in an entire week. Maybe some not at all. Maybe, you know, you get in and play an hour or two and get through a few queues and get frustrated and quit, and you're done for the night after an hour and a half. Whatever. Like, the idea of opening up all these perks on new killers and survivors is very, very daunting. It makes like Korean MMOs look like a walk in the park. And sooner or later, Dead by Daylight is going to need to calm down and address this issue and do something about it, because people are getting a little fed up with stuff, and I think in many ways they're right, and I think there's some stuff we need to wait and see, you know, like skill-based matchmaking and things like that. And you know, they're trying to do stuff, but it's when you pair things like that, and then you pair stuff like this, like the joy of leveling a new killer or leveling a new survivor and getting new cosmetics and stuff like that, sort of goes away. You know, and they have good regular content releases, and that almost is hurting us, because like, we're barely catching up and finishing off the last killer or survivor that we leveled and P3'd or did whatever to, and then we're back at it. So like, I don't have any concrete suggestions on how this is gonna work out or how they're gonna change it. They have said they're looking into it, but once again, sometimes the things they do are not always the best the first couple times around. So we'll see. But if hindsight was 2020, and if I had a little bitty time machine, there is a lot of killers that I would level, and I would take their one teachable perk that I wanted. Or, you know, there's some killers I probably wouldn't have taken any. I don't even know. I mean, we could go through all of them, but just as an example, Granny's Got Ruin, which is a standard. Billy, Enduring is a good one. I've never used Lightborn. Some people do. Tinkerer is obviously a pretty strong meta perk right now. You're not gonna Shadowborn. You're not using any of these perks from the Wraith. Unnerving Presence. You know, fun, like impossible skill check doctor build, but super niche. Brutal Strength is a solid perk, but just you're not going to use it a lot. And same thing with Agitation. They're solid perks, but they're not going to get used up other stuff. Most of this is crap. There's some interesting things there, but nothing great. But once again, so like you could there. Once you start getting into this, especially with the newer killers, there's stuff you could skip. You could skip coup de grace and still get a good night's sleep. You know, you could go through, and Dragon's Grip is interesting. Undying, obviously, one of the stronger perks released as of late. No, I do like this one, Trail of Torment. I'm going to start using that on some other people just to try some different builds. But here, not much you're doing. Like, there's you could skip all of those. Nemesis you take, and the other two you probably would not do anything with. Surge is one of my favorite perks in the game, but the other two are terrible. I'm All Ears, fine. Thrilling Tremor is one of my favorite perks in the game, and Furtive Chase, just I don't even know how to use it. Like, that's how bad it is. Love Corrupt Intervention. Infectious Fright is great, and Dark Devotion has potential if you're playing a super sneaky build. Whatever, but I mean, so you kind of get the idea. You could go through here and you could pick and choose. If you had the chance to go back, would you? You know, is that maybe the best way to do it? If I could erase like half of the perks that I have to unlock just because I have previously unlocked them back in the day, you know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and now I've got to like unbury them out of the blood web so I can get, you know, Pop Goes the Weasel, or I can get Corrupt Intervention, or I can get one of those perks that I want to have on my killers as sort of comfort food as they branch out and learn them. It's a big mountain, folks, and I'm just hoping that Behavior has a good idea about what they're going to do with it, because otherwise it's just one of those things that's really kind of looming on the horizon for this game, and it hurts me to say it, but like they're struggling a little bit right now, and I'm hoping that they pull out. But if you have any thoughts about it yourselves, like, please leave them in the comments. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're just putting up content, having a good time, and just, I think it's a good time to talk about Dead by Daylight, because and just have real talk about where we're going and what we're doing, and just leave your thoughts in the comments. What would you do? Would you erase perks? Would you give people the ability to buy back perks, so you didn't have to open them up anymore, or could open them up at a later time, or some sort of general perk library where you just open them all up and then you have them available once you like get your killer or survivor to 50 or P3, and then your library is open and then you can just plop them in like once you reach a certain level. I mean, that would be something, but other than that, I'm not sure. But I bet you guys have good ideas, because you're younger, smarter people, and I'm an elderly Dead by Daylight fan. But other than that, much love. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the fog.